name's Andrew Thompson. I work within the finance industry and have done for quite a few years. I suffer with a condition called Best's disease, or vitelliform macular dystrophy, which falls under the category of macular degeneration, and within that, which has wet and dry form, it's what we refer to as the dry form. As it's a dystrophy, that means it's hereditary, so my father also had it, and unfortunately I've also passed it on to my daughter. But therefore it can sort of impact at sort of quite an early age, and it sort of first was picked up when I was about 9 or 10. Well, basically it's the macula, which is the sort of the bit that everyone needs to see sort of pinpoint vision. That has a huge number of sort of cells within it. I think it's something like 12,000 cells or something within a sort of 5 millimetre sort of area. And the macula basically has a sort of a build-up of fluid between all the layers, between the back of the eye, and that pushes it all out of sync. I'm talking real layman's terms. Obviously, I'm not an optician or a specialist in this area, but my understanding is that the build-up of fluid pushes everything out of order, and in some instances, the actual fluid or the blood will actually seep through into the eye. Now that will then become the wet form of macular degeneration. In my case, it doesn't seep through, but it just distorts everything. So what happens is there are areas there which do get damaged in the scar tissue, and that prevents getting pinpoint vision. So my central vision is not good. So say, for example, if I'm looking at you, your face is just a blur, and sort of, if we had a staring competition, I would win. But all around you is perfect, because the vision, the surrounding area, which, believe it or not, the surrounding area has the same number of cells. So you've got a much bigger area, but with it's not as sort of pinpoint. But I use the peripheral vision to sort of get around, and you see it. I'm not sure what other people with macular degeneration actually see, because obviously we all see things differently. But in my case, you see it on the news where it's described as a big black blob in the central vision. In actual fact, it's not like that. It sort of takes on the colour, if you like, of the surroundings. So you don't see it as a big black blob. You just see it as very, very out of focus, almost as if you've put sort of Vaseline on your glasses and sort of trying to look through a blob of Vaseline, whereas everything else surrounding it is perfectly clear. So, for example, if I was looking at a tree, you'd just see it as a green tree, and as long as you weren't looking at the detail and you glanced at it, it would just look normal. So, that's how you sort of get by with it. It sort of manifests itself in different ways, but that's effectively what I see. Up to the last 2 or 3 years, it hasn't had a huge impact on me. I have been driving sort of for 34 years, but I've had to stop that now because I can't see the number plate. So, that's I can see the number plate, just can't read it, which is obviously the main focus. Obviously, a couple of years ago, I went into the optician, drove down to the opticians, sort of went through the normal tests, at the end of which they said, "Are you still driving?" I said, "Yep." And they said, "We don't think you should be." So I took it upon myself to take myself off the road. So that was June, July 2015. And so basically just cycle. So that's the first thing that because when you've got some sort of disability, it's the fact that you're losing your independence. That's what concerns many people. And so whatever you can do to sort of maintain that level of independence obviously keeps you positive. So the day after we've got 2 young children, so that would put more onus on my wife having to do the school run. So I went straight out and bought a tag-along, So I was able to at least help with running one of the children at school. At that time, they were going to different schools. That helped. But so that's the first challenge. But again, there's positives with that. I get to work 20 minutes, rain, shine, wind, whatever. It's all traffic. It's just going to take me 20 minutes. I feel I'm a lot healthier than I was. So, well, bodily wise, not eyes wise, obviously. One of the big issue that I've had for a long while is actually facial recognition. As I mentioned earlier, sitting here, we're 2 meters away from each other, and if I look directly at you, I just lose all your facial features. And so when you're walking in the street, the number of people I've walked past, and of course they just assume you've blanked them, and you're not doing it to be rude. And the number of times I've done that to my wife is, but she keeps changing her hairstyle, so it's like those, the aircraft recognition things, the silhouettes of the aircraft recognition. You recognise people by their hairstyle sometimes, and if they change it, you've had no hope. Within work have been brilliant. They've provided me with a dual screen, so within that I can then sort of do the work that I have done all my life. There are loads of applications now that assist people. Within work have paid for a specialist application that actually reads the text on a computer. But having said that, there is actually also a sort of the similar type of application already within many computers that people are just unaware of. I'm talking about a PC rather than a Mac at the moment because that's what I use. But if you use the Windows key and the letter U, it brings up a whole load of applications which will read the text, magnify the screen, and so you've got all these sort of things these days that will assist you with these sort of problems. So what I tend to do at work, one of the screens has it standard size, and on the other one I use it with the magnification. I do have to do that because when I have to explain things on the computer to my colleagues, if they look at the magnification one, they start feeling seasick. So they're better to sort of focus on the more stable screen. But again, it's sort of finding ways and means to sort of get around things, and thankfully that assists me, and I can sort of still do the job that I've been doing. Mind you, I've been doing it for 30 years, so I've got a vague idea.
And do you tend to tell people, or is it something that might just come up naturally?
I think these days I tell people more, basically because people will hand me something to read, and I say, oh, sorry, I can't see that. Just a second, and I'll take my phone out, photograph it, enlarge it, and then I can read it. So, there's ways and means of sort of getting around, and I think from my perspective it's just having the front to sort of say, look, I've got a problem, don't worry about it, I can get by doing this sort of thing. And of course, if you look at things within just general shopping, for example, there are sometimes there's the print on some of the smaller products. There are some that are the style of the labelling is sort of a handwriting, and I've got no hope with that. But if I photograph it, enlarge it, then I can read it. That might look quite odd to the people in the supermarket, but hey ho, just sort of it's how you deal with it.